Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Scary Stories by the Campfire. We are your counselors tonight, Jeremy.
And Jason.
And tonight we are talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. As you can tell, I have come in and got my sweater back, got my claws ready this time. And unfortunately, I have a hat too, but it doesn't fit over the headset, or else I would have wore that too. But here we are. Yeah. So, Jason, would you like to start us off on the Nightmare on Elm Street remake fun times that we will be talking about tonight?
Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street remake. I've seen it. This is actually probably the second time I've seen this movie in its entirety. And let me go back and say that it is not as bad as there's a lot of flack for this movie, all right, because it's a remake, and I'm kind of on the assumption that if it's not broken, or if it's not broken, don't fix it, type of thing. So I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty good, and all they did was kind of revamp it for the more modern audience who apparently doesn't want to go back and watch the original. I don't know why this entirely was made, but in all honesty, it's not a horrible movie. People like to go, "Oh, it's a remake. It's bad." Some people even like to put it at the bottom of, like, if they're ranking like all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they always want to put it like dead last, like this is the worst of the worst. Apparently, those people never watched Freddy's Dead because that was bad. Okay, this movie may not rank as the highest of my favorites, but it's probably about mid-level. But yeah, it's a decent watch.
I
There are
have, I personally have a new appreciation for this movie. It's been a while since I've sat down and actually watched it. And actually watched it, in depth. And, like, for me personally, it's just, I have this newfound appreciation for it. Like, it's weird. I was actually thinking about this the other day. Actually, it was yesterday. I think it was, and earlier today. I think Jackie Earle Haley is the Freddy Krueger they originally wanted him to be. Like, they wanted the original Freddy Krueger to be, in ways of scariness. I think that's what they were going for with this. At least with him. I think they wanted to bring back that scare factor with Jackie Earle Haley. And in my opinion, I think they succeeded in that endeavor, if that's what they were going for. I do believe, like I said, though, that I think this is the Freddy Krueger they were gunning for with Robert Englund in the first movie. It just didn't succeed in the same scare factor.
Yeah, that is okay. Let me break it down for you. The cast in this movie is
I like the
the cast.
cast better in this one than I did the original. Just saying. Like
The
the
cast in this
characters.
one, the cast in this one was pretty good. They're not as forgettable. I think it's well. I mean, okay, let me take that back. Like the first three are kind of forgettable. It's the main two that we're focused on, which is Nancy and Quentin. Which Quentin kind of plays the Glenn role in this one. He's more of the supporting character, and for ironically, he is a pretty intelligent character overall.
Yeah, he was played by
Um,
Kyle Gallner. Gallner?
and I mean, actor's been in a lot of stuff. He was in Scream, the recent Scream movie. He was in a episode of The Walking Dead, I believe.
Rooney Mara played Nancy.
This Nancy didn't seem as kind of dulled out, should I say?
No, she
She
actively tried to do stuff in this one.
and okay, the highlight of this movie is Jackie Earle Haley playing Freddy Krueger. Now, Robert Englund is always going to be the iconic. This is the way that I describe it to people. Robert Englund is going to be the iconic Freddy Krueger, and I think it's when you get to part 3 where it really kind of blends some of that dark humor to it. That is almost Freddy in perfection, right? You got him manipulating people. He's just having fun with it, right? He is just this creepy character who invades your dreams and torments you and plays with you a little bit before killing you. I don't think he played like the scariest Freddy Krueger ever. I mean, at least in the first one, he was
Creepy. He had his creepy
he was
moments.
he was creepy, and I think that in this movie, Jackie Earle Haley plays the scariest. Like when you see Robert in the first movie and he's trying to be scary, sometimes it just doesn't pay off. Like the dream sequence where he stretches his arms all the way out like an accordion.
Oh,
That's not that scary. But Jackie plays like horrifyingly scary because there is almost no humor to him. I mean, I think the weakest parts is when they try to throw in those one-liners that he did in like earlier movies, um, and they don't quite make sense, but they're using them just because those are iconic lines. There is actually there's actually a line in this movie that is by far one of the most frightening things I've ever heard. And it's a simple line, okay? There's a character, Jesse, not the cool Jesse from part 2, but this Jesse was locked in he went to jail because he was arrested for possibly killing uh what is it? Was she the girlfriend
yeah, his
or
ex.
or what his ex?
Yeah.
Um so we start off the movie with a character named Dean being killed off in a diner where he cuts his own throat.
Which I
Okay,
have a fun fact about that.
okay, and it's not even just like it's not even just kind of like a Friday the 13th early throat slit where it's just kind of like, whoosh, and then the throat opens up a little bit and he bleeds and he dies.
No,
No, he jams this steak knife like almost to
all
the
the
back,
yeah, like
and he just
all
and
the
I'm
way to
like,
the
oh,
hilt.
and it is just gruesome. And then he dies. They have the funeral, and the first like I don't know 15 minutes of the movie follows this other actress around this other character um, before she gets killed.
Chris.
And what?
Chris.
Chris. And she died the same way as oh, the I'm forgetting names now, but it's been so long. It's been quite a while. The iconic bedroom scene where she's dragged around the roof and she's all sliced up and whatnot in the first movie. She pretty much has the same death. She gets dragged around, but except instead of getting dragged around, she's getting thrown around. It's like wham, wham, wham. And I think her death, I think, is done a little bit better, a little bit rougher. I think, and that might be the different. personalities of the Freddy's being played here, because the Freddy that Robert England was playing was probably much more sadistic when he was doing it, so he probably dragged her up the wall, and you don't ever get to see him do it. You just kind of see her floating around and getting scratched, and he's probably having fun just whoosh, slicing and kind of dragging her around. I don't think there was like a whole lot of slamming, but Jackie plays Freddy in a violent way, and he's just bashing her. He is just head bouncing off corners and
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
and he's just rough with her. And so Jesse runs out of the house, sets off the alarm, he gets arrested. He goes to prison, and this is a long tangent for just one line, but he ends up getting killed in prison. He falls asleep, and Freddy's chasing him around in the dream or whatever. And Freddy ends up stabbing him through the chest from the back, just hand completely through. Then it shows Jesse in the real world. He's lying in the prison cell, and he's just bleeding out. Right? He's just dead, bleeding out. There's a funny scene where the prisoner in his cell's like, "I didn't do it. I'm
Get me
guilty.
outta
It wasn't
here."
me." Yeah, he's trying to get out. But then the line comes when we pan back to the dream world, and Jesse's hanging from the ceiling. And this actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Jimmy, it makes sense that those other bodies were still there. Jackie's got him hanging up by his feet, and he comes up to him and he goes, he says, "Did you know that after the heart stops beating, the brain is still active for like 7 minutes? We still have 6 minutes of playtime." And I'm just like, oh my God, you can't even be dead and get away from this guy. He is still going to mess with you even after he's killed you.
Which
And
is actually a true fact. Your brain still functions after death, but it's for 10 minutes. For nearly 10 minutes. Nearly 10 minutes.
But I'm just thinking, oh my God. He can still torture you for 10 minutes even after you're technically dead. You don't even get to escape him. Death is not an escape. So I thought that was actually one of the more frightening scenes, just hearing that, knowing that you can't escape now, because essentially you're trapped in the dream world at that point, because you can't.
Absolutely. So apparently, two things. In the first big opening scene with Dean, Kellen Lutz, who plays Dean, actually chose not to sleep for a few days to get his character ready, to give him that more sleep deprived feel to him. And then apparently Kyle Gallner actually suffered a cut to his abdomen because the glove that Jackie was wearing had failed to bend back down, leaving one of the knives still extended. And he didn't realize that until after the scene was finished. But I guess he actually cut Kyle in, like, for real in his abdomen.
Ooh. You know, that's the art of working in theater or working on movies and stuff. Mishaps happen, people get hurt. But I think because this movie pretty much played out just like the first one. I mean, it kind of alters the ending a little bit. It definitely does change the Freddy character. His backstory isn't that he's just some child killer. He is actually a confirmed child molester, and he gets burned to death by the parents of the kids or whatnot. And he, like the first movie, they never really explain how he gets these powers. He just has them. Whatever. But one of the new additions that they do talk about in this movie is the micro naps. And I never knew about this, and apparently it's a thing where in the movies all the kids are trying to stay awake. They're trying to stay awake. They're trying to stay awake. Try to stay awake as long as possible. And it is hard for them to stay awake, no matter how much caffeine or whatever they put in their bodies. They tend to fall asleep, or they just don't care and they go to sleep anyway. This movie shows that you can't just stay awake. because I can't remember exactly what the extent of time is, but after I guess your brain has been awake for an extended amount of time, it will automatically shut off and go into these micro sleeps. So even if they're jacked up on adrenaline, or they're, you know, keeping themselves awake using the cigarette lighter in a car, their brain is going to shut off at some point. And it's a way that he keeps popping in there. Like you can't really escape from this guy. You can't just say, "Hey, I'm just going to keep myself awake and that's going to keep him awake." No, 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 no. In this movie, your brain does tend to shut off for a moment or two to kind of keep itself in working order. So I did like that aspect of it. They didn't dive too much into it, but it was something that I did appreciate. Added
No,
a bit more scare to it.
so apparently, there were a couple things about the reason why Jackie Earle Haley was chosen to play this role. The first one was the director saw him in the pre-screening for The Watchmen and loved the Rorschach character and how Jackie portrayed that Rorschach character. But Robert Englund actually gave his personal blessing to him to replace him as Freddy Krueger, and said that he did a good job as Freddy and that the torch had been well passed to somebody new.
So he saw this movie and he approved of the Freddy character in this movie.
Yes.
Well, I mean that's the highest compliment you can get. I mean, you can't really do it with the Jason character because Jason's been passed down through so many hands, but when you have someone who plays an iconic character and they say, "No, no, no. It's your turn. You try it out. I approve of your choice," and then he sees the movie and go, "Wow, you blew it out of the park." You know, that's about the highest praise. It doesn't matter what critics say at that point. They can say you did the worst job in the world, and if the original says you did good, you made it.
Exactly. And apparently Wes Craven didn't know the movie was even being made until well into production. I guess in a 2009 interview, he expressed his displeasure as the original was very important to him. And I think if this movie had done more stuff different than the original, it would have got a better response. But because they did keep most of the original stuff to it and just basically rehash the original, I think that's why it fell short with critics and people. I think the new stuff that they added was really good, but I think they should have just changed some of the old stuff. Apparently, say what?
Or maybe done something like what we're gonna see on Monday when we watch the Friday remake, which is take bits and pieces of all maybe the better parts of maybe like all the way up to Dream Warrior, maybe do like the first 3 movies or so, and just kind of hit those marks.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna see. That's what we're gonna see in Monday on our Friday the 13th movie, is that they took pieces of like first couple movies, some of the better parts, but they made an entirely different movie. So when you watch this, you're not going to be like, "Oh my God, it's the first movie all over." This is essentially the first movie, just with things
and
scrambled.
apparently this was supposed to have like 2 sequels to it. Jackie Earle Haley actually has had a contract for 3 movies total, and I think that's one of the reasons why they tried to stick with the original part, is because they had the anticipation of doing something different in the next one, but they wanted to keep something familiar to kind of help ease people into this new one instead of just throwing all this new stuff at them. Jackie Earle Haley actually frequently improvised on set as he felt it would unease his fellow cast members if they didn't know what he was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about acting. Okay, I dabbled in some stage work, some very local stuff, but I think I think especially when you're doing movies like this and you're doing um, you can't really do it play wise because it's live and whatnot, but I think some of the best acting does come from kind of an improv. Um, you see a lot of movies where you go, "Wow, that is like a funny scene. That's like the funniest scene, it's the best scene in the movie," and you come to realize the actors were just improving, and people who were doing the movie were like, "Wow, we really liked it. Let's keep it in."
Oh my
It
god.
makes it easier to get more live reaction when you're changing it up. So if castmate A, who is playing the victim, and you have Jackie over here, and they do the same scene 3 or 4 times, you might not get the reaction that you want because you're going 3 or 4 scenes at a time, or doing the same thing. So if he changes it up and gives you a little whoosh and kind of spooks you a little bit, gets this crazy reaction out of you, then you know it's much better. So I do I do like a little improv in there, especially if you're feeding the character, you're making them better.
So there were two other people to be considered to play Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I really want to hear this.
Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh God, did you really want this? I didn't say anything.
And Steve Buscemi.
Who was writing these movies?
I guess Adam
So
Sandler would
you're
make an
telling
appearance too.
Oh God, Adam Sandler's like the dad of those characters. What? Steve Buscemi, really? I like a lot of Steve Buscemi stuff, but I'm gonna tell you right now that would, I don't think that would work, and I don't think Billy Bob would work.
Oh God,
I
no.
I think with this one they nailed it right on the head. They got what they were wanting. I mean, could they have gotten someone better than Jackie? Possibly, but it kind of depends on what you're wanting. And I think I've read somewhere that if they're wanting to pass the torch to another Freddy person, someone to play Freddy, I think, and Jeremy just gave me a look like he knows exactly what I'm gonna say. Who do you?
Oh, Robert Englund said it. It's Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, yeah, he wants Kevin Bacon to play Freddy, and I can kind of see that, but sometimes there has to be like, I don't want to call it typecasting, but there has to be like, if you can look at a person and go, yeah, he could play that role, then he probably can do it.
Yeah.
If you look at a person and you just look at him and go, then probably not. Now Kevin Bacon is a fine line there because I've seen him play a bad guy, but he's kind of this really kind of sarcastic, I don't care about nobody bad guy. And
Yeah.
did you ever watch that movie Super?
Yep.
Yep, he played the bad guy in that one, and I
Yep.
can look at that and go, that would be more of like a Robert Englund kind of like night, probably like Dream Warriors,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little bit later in the series, kind of. Jeremy scratching his head with his
I know.
claws, looking like a old chop top there from Texas too. But yeah, I've seen him play a bad guy, so it makes me kind of go, yeah, I can see it. If you give him kind of the goofy, kind of maybe Dream Wars later on type of Freddy, but this kind of Freddy, I just can't see him doing this kind of Freddy, and
I
I think that's why Jackie just wins it for me.
Yeah. So apparently, the makeup team wanted to make Freddy look more like an actual burn victim. I think
Mm-hmm.
while Freddy Krueger and the Robert Englund ones, he does look burned and all that. I don't think he resembles what a burn victim would actually look like. I think his is a little overdone. But apparently they actually dialed it back because they went like they had the white skin and all that, but they didn't want people to look away in disgust. So they kind of toned it down a little bit. And I kind of wish they wouldn't have toned it down, because he does look like a more of a burn victim in this movie. A lot with like the flesh melding together like it would from where it melts and then solidifies back.
Wait, did you say that they toned it down in this movie or in the original?
This one in the remake they actually toned it down because I guess they had pictures of burn victims which detailed how white the skin would appear after healing. The sequel was also supposed to there was supposed to be a sequel that was supposed to show how he lived through the fire but died in the hospital. So his skin would have already been healing.
Interesting. I think most of the stuff on this was CGI, right? He didn't wear too many prosthetics, I don't think. I think most of it was done CGI.
What, his makeup?
Yeah.
No, Jackie Earle Haley, no. 3 hours. 3 hours
So,
in a chair.
A lot of it was
All his makeup
I know.
was real. They said they asked him how he got into character, and he said sitting in a makeup chair for 3 hours will make you want to kill somebody.
Yeah, that is true. I've heard a lot of stories about actors having to go in for long sessions, especially if there's like a lot of makeup involved, especially like almost full body stuff. People go in there for like 6 hours. They have to get up at they have to be at like the makeup studio at like 1-2 in the morning just to start makeup, and then they go out and do their shoot. They're out there for like God only knows, like 10 hours before they can go back and take it all off, and that could take a couple hours just to take it off. But I think kind of the big downside to this movie that I did notice was some of the special effects.
Some of them did not work. Some of them did work. Some of them worked really well. Like I know you were talking about ones that didn't work. Is like the wall scene where.
Oh God, that was why. It almost reminded me of the Frighteners. It was like almost 1990s kind of CGI.
But the CGI like that did work was with Chris in the classroom where she like covers her head and everything just like bursts into ash and the entire room goes to like ash. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very well done. But they this is the last remake that Michael Bay produced. Horror remake. And it's the last horror remake that Platinum Dunes actually did because of the
I thought Friday came after Nightmare.
Nope. This movie came out in 2010. Friday came out in 2009.
Oh, that's right. Because I didn't see this one in theaters. We went and saw Friday in theaters.
But they
I didn't see this one in theaters.
They only after this movie and all of the backlash that came with it, they decided to only stick to original content, and they didn't create another movie until The Purge in 2013.
Which is kind of sad because, I mean, I think they also did the Texas Chainsaw remake. And from what I understand, that was a pretty good remake. And Friday the 13th, in my opinion, was probably one of the better remakes that are out there. So this one being kind of a flop, it just doesn't seem like it should just shut a whole studio down. I mean, I've seen movies that are absolute garbage, and yet they still get like 3 or 4 sequels.
Well, what's funny is this is... Hold on, let me find it. I actually just read this. Oh, man. Hold on. It's funny that you say flop. You know, and to critics it was people it was a flop. But this also broke the record for midnight openings for a horror film.
So, relatively successful, too.
But Rooney Mara, the person who played Nancy, she hated playing in this movie after everything.
Why?
It didn't say, but she said it almost made her quit acting.
Because the movie was just bad, or was it just bad on set?
I don't know. It didn't, like I said, it didn't really say, but she said, hated being in this movie so much that she almost quit acting.
I mean,
Maybe it was the uncomfortableness of it.
it could be. I mean, I think nowadays movie sets are. I don't know. I haven't been on a movie set. I don't know how it works, but I know, like, back in the days, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, movie sets were. They could be anything. You could go to a movie set and you can have the best family-friendly experience, and everyone's happy and they're glad to be making this thing. Or you go to another one and they're completely drug-ridden, and you know, it's just a mess. But I know nowadays they have, I think they have much more uh, uh, stronger policies on keeping people safe and whatnot. So, I mean, unless you just had a really bad time on set, that'd be one thing. But the way that I see it is, you can't base it on a movie. You can't base, you can't look. It's not like she was forced into it. Okay, she read the script. She knew what she was getting into. You get into it, you go, hey, if you sit down, you do the movie, and whether you give it 110% or 50%, it doesn't matter. You put your time into the movie, you sit down, you watch the movie, you go, wow, that movie was really bad. But guess what? That's okay. You're
Yeah,
allowed to have
exactly.
bad. You're allowed to have bad movies. I mean, look at Bruce Campbell. Everyone loves Bruce Campbell, and let me tell you, he's got bad movies. A lot of the movies he's in it's bad, and it's not just because he's in the movie. He does what he can, and it's fun to watch it. But the movie's just bad.
Yep.
But he does it because he likes doing those kind of B movies.
So
And
so Kyle Gallner was the first person to be cast,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and he actually auditioned and impressed him so much he was cast that day of his audition.
Wow,
Like he walked in, auditioned, and they gave him the spot.
that's impressive.
And apparently
Hey.
Warner Brothers wanted this movie in 3D.
Oh, thank goodness they didn't do 3D.
Well, they said in post-production there was a heated argument and a heated debate, and the producers and Warner Brothers came to an agreement that the movie wouldn't be converted to 3D.
Thank God, because in the first movie, Nancy was the star of the movie. It was her against Freddy. In this one, Nancy's kind of, in my opinion, almost a backseat. Like, she is riding shotgun, and this is Quentin's movie, which is interesting because she is the one who pulls Freddy out in the end, and they kind of go through the same thing, and she does kill Freddy in the end. But he's kind of running the show, in my opinion. He's doing the research on, like, the micro naps. He's the one who was stealing the adrenaline to keep him awake. Um,
Yeah.
He's the one. He's the one who got to be in Dead by Daylight. So, and my boy Quentin.
Oh man, that's it. They also use this Freddy for
Yeah, they used the basis for this movie, and I think, in my opinion, it does set a much more, because this movie. Say you enjoy this movie. Let's say you enjoy this movie. You want a little bit more, but you're not gonna get the Dead by Daylight backstories for Freddy and Quentin do kind of lead them into Dead by Daylight pretty cleanly than, say, like the Halloween backstories. Those were kind of just there, but I do like how Freddy and Quentin kind of move over into the game. But I mean, overall, this it's okay. It has a lot of good points. It has some bad points, but overall, I don't think it's the worst Nightmare movie. That title will, at least for me, will always be Freddy's Dead. That movie, I'm never gonna.
Oh, it was so funny that you brought up Freddy's Dead. So,
God, how did that tie into this?
actually, it's quite, and this isn't even a. Oh my god, it's not even like a horror movie thing. So, I kid you not, this is gonna be a weird little tangent. But earlier, I was watching Seinfeld, right? And there's a few episodes where Kramer, and if anybody doesn't know what Seinfeld is, for all the young peoples out there, you know, it was a comedy show starring comedian Jerry Seinfeld. And Kramer is the goofy neighbor who lives across the hallway. But I guess, like, one of the episodes they get in an argument, and Kramer ends up flying to L.A. to be an actor. And, while they're out there, Jerry gets invited to be on the David Letterman or something. They're out there, and they show Kramer going into this audition room to audition for I guess he was going into audition for a TV show, but then, you know, they make the joke, oh, do you want to do the horror movie, the music video, the exercise video, or something else? But in the background, up on the wall of this audition place, is a poster for Freddy's Dead.
Oh boy. Don't want to be in that movie.
It was the original poster for Freddy's Dead, and it's in the when he opens the door, it's like, and it's a big one too. I mean, it took up like a big portion of the wall. But I was like, hey, we talked about that movie. I remember that.
See,
it just made me think of it. I don't know why.
And Freddy's Dead is so bad that it sticks with me. We were watching Rat Race the other day, and every time Breckenmeyer pops up, I'm like, oh god, you were in that movie. Every time I see you, you remind me of Freddy's Dead.
Oh.
He had that really terrible video game death. I'm like, not even a death. He fell down a hole.
She could have caught him.
Yeah, she could have caught him. The floor was only like 3 feet apart. She could have laid down. Oh god, the movie's so bad. People want to say this one's the bad one. I don't think this one's the bad one.
At least Nancy's mother died better in this one than the original, instead of that doll thing being sucked through the window of the door.
Yeah, it was definitely even though the graphic, the special effects on the mother's death at the end of the movie was still kind of on my part.
Yeah, it was a miss.
That one was a little bit of a miss, but it was still a better death than the mother of the last one, where she just kind of turned into a little doll and just right through the window. But like I said, this movie doesn't ever really explain Freddy's powers or how he got them, and
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't try that.
No, they didn't in the first movie. In the original, they never explained where he came from. There was, in this movie, they did play with the idea that maybe Freddy was innocent, because they were just like, because Quentin and Nancy find out that their parents were part of a mob that killed him. They set him on fire, killed him, and you know, Quentin's like, okay, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? And Dad's just like, no, we know he was, you know, molesting you kids and stuff like that. And he's like, you don't have any evidence? You have nothing to you could have killed an innocent guy. That would have made the story a little bit more interesting, that him being like maybe an innocent guy. But right there at the end, they pretty much said, yeah, he's a big, ugly child molester.
And you know what? I'm wondering if that would have made the movie a little bit better. In my opinion, I think it could have, if they had just gotten rid of that and just ran with he was an innocent guy that got burned and killed, so now this is his way of getting revenge on the parents who wrongfully killed him.
You don't even have to say he's innocent. Just don't prove nothing. Leave it as an air of suspension. You know, throughout this entire movie, you're going, well, maybe he didn't do it. maybe he didn't do it. And then you get to the end and they don't really, maybe they don't say that he did or didn't do it. You know, maybe you go, oh, maybe the vengeful mob was wrong. And he was just a gardener at a kindergarten who spent too much time with the kids. You know, which is a bit weird. Well, why would you have a gardener living in a preschool?
In the
I don't
basement
think
of a
you.
preschool.
Yeah, I don't think you can have. I don't think you can have just someone living in a school like that. I don't think that's. I'm pretty sure there's a law out there something that says you can't just whatever. But he had a little hidey hole and he had pictures and it was just you know icky feeling and
So, favorite kill.
favorite kill. Well, let's see what we have. We have throat slit, heart punch, thrown around room, Freddy.
Well, no, the throwing around the room. She died from just getting completely split open.
Yeah, there was that big slashing gash in the chest. I'm gonna go with probably.
Because what, there were 4 in this one. Yeah, roughly.
Well, they had the one guy on camera. Remember he was doing the research on.
Oh yeah, the
Like,
Asian dude. That was the
hey,
other thing. That was the other thing that I talked about in the movie that I actually liked. Was the fact that he could leave Springwood.
yeah, apparently he was following these specific kids around. And here's the odd thing, Jeremy. So the guy was doing his like little webcam or whatever,
I'm
and
so
then he kind of passes it.
tired.
Yeah, and then he passes out, and then you see him kind of smack. Who uploaded that video? Who uploaded the video?
Could have been on an auto upload, or it could have
Did
been
they
a
have
live setup.
Did they have those in 2010?
I don't know, possibly
His mom comes in. She's like, "Oh my God, it's
upload.
what he would have wanted." Upload. But speaking of which, Jeremy, since we're talking about that guy also plays Chewie in the Friday the 13th movie we're going to be watching.
Yes, he does.
Same,
I
yeah,
recognize
same
him.
actor. So he's been killed by Freddy and so favorite death probably I'm gonna go with Dean.
The throat slit.
Yeah, throat slit because I think the beating around the room and the chest slash was pretty good. I think the kind of the chest punch thing, at least for me, seemed kind of fakeish, a lot of CGI-ish to it. It didn't. It was good looking, but I mean, it was better than the mom's death, but still kind of had that fake feel to it. It just kind of. So definitely Dean's just because he got right in there. Got in there. I think he could have cut his own spinal cord with that thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Dean as well. Just being able to see the knife go all the way to the handle in his throat. And it's not like it's a dull knife or it's a sharp knife. It's a steak knife.
Yeah, it's
It's
not
rounded.
only that,
He just shoved it in and just cut.
and yeah, there's not like a sawing action to it. It's literally like a very slow, cool, and you get the entire thing from the side all the way to the other side, and it is just ugh.
Yeah,
Um,
that was definitely
well,
a good one.
Freddy's death in this one was okay, even though technically I guess he's not dead since he killed the mom at the end. But
So, scale of 1 to 10.
what on this movie
Yep.
or on the Freddy?
On this movie. First.
On this movie, I'm gonna give it a 7. I'm gonna be soft on it a little bit because rewatching it because I think the first time that I actually watched it, I watched it by myself. I just saw it on like Netflix or something. I was like, you know what? I've never seen this movie before. I'm gonna give it a watch. And I watched it and I was like, it's okay. Ain't nothing really great. Ain't nothing really that bad. It's just kind of in the middle. It's like a 5. But I think I give points to it because of Jackie's performance. The two main leads, they're pretty good in it. Um, they're a bit more involved than just trying to, you know, stay awake. And kind of the little ideas about the micro naps and uh, that type of stuff kind of raises it a little bit. Uh, but it doesn't get real high pointage because it's just kind of a rehash of the first movie. So
I get a 7 as well. Again, for the same reasons. The high points, the new stuff that they did in the movie work. And that's the thing about this movie. I think the new stuff that they added in works. But it's when they try to rehash the old stuff that just didn't work. And as we've been talking about, I've kind of been noticing that that's the trend. Like the new stuff that they put in, all of it works. But the old stuff just doesn't work that well. And I think that's where it falls short. Jackie Earle Haley, his performance is, like you said, right on the money. I think this is that scary Freddy Krueger that they originally wanted, but they couldn't get in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, so they started switching it up going into the later ones. But I think this is what they originally wanted, and I think he did very well with that. Quentin and Nancy, great characters. They're fun to watch, you know. And I liked that they weren't a couple already, but two, I liked the innocent aspect of them.
did they even become a couple?
Yeah, he said he'd take her out on a date once all this was over with. So, kind of. But I liked that aspect of it. It was that very innocent friend aspect.
And I liked how they worked together. Like they were trying to figure this thing out together. Like I know he's kind of a rehash of like Johnny Depp's character Glenn, but Glenn in his movie was borderline useless. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, he did kind of help out here and there and give her some sort of emotional support, but when she literally told him one thing, "Don't go to sleep," what did he do? He tucked himself in and went straight to bed. It's like, you idiot. You had one job. She told you to do one thing.
I love
You
that.
couldn't even stay awake for like 10 minutes.
I love that scene in the remake where Quinn's like, I got this adrenaline that I stole. And he like takes and just shoves it into his leg, and he's just like, oh yeah.
And he's just shaking. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Woo, woo.
I'm awake now.
And then I'm pretty sure he fell asleep afterwards. He came crashing. But yeah, because I think he ended up passing out when they were in the hidey hole or whatever, that Freddy's little nasty room, and I think he fell asleep in there, and Freddy attacked him. But once again, that's kind of the micro naps thing that we were talking about. Your brain just kind of shuts off, and you just
Fred's like, why won't you die?
Yeah, he killed everyone in like one hit, except for that one girl. He bashed around the bedroom before he killed her. But what did he do? He slashed Quentin. He stabbed Quentin. Quentin had more lives than a cat.
The face. So,
yeah.
Scale of 1 to 10, Jackie Earle Haley.
I'm gonna give him an 8. I know we didn't. It's silly to kind of rank these two because
we didn't rank any of the other Freddy Kruegers either.
Yeah, we didn't rank the Freddy, but it was because it's kind of the same Freddy. Well, I mean, we did it with the Jasons, but those are primarily because they were all different actors per se.
Different actors with different personas, because every Jason in every movie was different. Let's be real.
Yeah, he had a different feel, and I think Robert Englund's Freddy went from serious to goofy, and he made that progressive arc. And I think you get the fine line of the best Freddy in Dream Warriors, or maybe like Dream Warriors and Dream Master, kind of in that little spot right there. You kind of get where you get the best Freddy. But this one, And I said it once, I said it twice, I'll say it forevermore. Robert Englund is the most iconic Freddy. Jackie is the most frightening Freddy.
I give Jackie an 8 as well. I think Robert Englund went from okay Freddy to really good Freddy, and in that arc, and then it started going downhill as bad Freddy. And that's only because just here from the first movie, second movie, and then we get up into the higher for Dream Warriors at the peak of Robert Englund Freddy, and then it just goes all the way down to Freddy's dead. And then there's a slight backup for a new Nightmare, but
Yeah, I think that's the thing with the later Freddy movies with Robert Englund is that people talk about Robert Englund being the epitome of what Freddy is. Oh, no one can outplay him. Have you seen his later movies? He's sometimes almost unbearable to be around.
oh, especially in Freddy's Dead when he's like
He just
he's like the grandpa you wish you never had.
he's like, it goes from barely saying anything barely saying anything in like the first movie and being very threatening in the second movie, then having that very serious threatening style with a hint of the humor to it, the sick twisted humor, just going to straight nothing but one liners, like literally everything out of his mouth is one liners. You can't be scary on that, man. I couldn't take you seriously if you took me into the dream world and you're like, hello, now we're playing with power. I'm like, dude, just shut up. Just shut up, okay?
Now we're playing with power. God, that
You
was.
forgot the power glove.
Oh God.
God, just stop.
Yeah.
This Freddy had sparklers in his claws.
Oh yeah, when he
Every
would
time
like.
touch some sort of metal, he was just sparking.
So, it's my favorite part of the show.
Oh boy, here we go. Tomato meter.
Oh
Tomato.
yeah.
Gotta get some sort of weird graphic, just like a
Tomato splat like against the screen. Okay.
sound effect.
Tomato meter. Oh man. I'm gonna create one of those, by the way, just for that, for the new year. Okay. Oh God, I'm so sorry. 14%.
14% from critics.
Yeah. I don't think it deserves that low.
I think it should be at least. I mean, I'm not saying it needs to be super high. It's not gonna be in the 70s or anything. Because here, I think critics just have a problem with horror movies in general, unless there's some sort of like brainy, got to sit there and think throughout the entire thing kind of horror movie, something like Hereditary. So I think this movie deserves like at least a 50, at least.
Yeah.
At minimum.
And audience score is a 43. That's a lot better. I can see that.
Yeah, I could see. I'd probably put them at about 50 also, probably around that.
I think
range.
I was about to say, I think the fans could be a little bit higher. I think somebody said compared to the flamboyance of Robert Englund in the 80s, Jackie Earle Haley as a crazed Freddy Krueger is more lumbering man-child than demonic daddy. What?
What does that even mean? Wait, say it slower again. I gotta catch all that.
Compared to the flamboyance of Robert Englund in the 1980s, Jackie Earle Haley as the crazed Freddy Krueger is more lumbering man-child than demonic daddy.
So are they saying that Robert Englund was a flamboyant demonic daddy?
I guess.
What is that? That's gonna be the name of my new punk rock band, Flamboyant Demon Daddy. Daddy Demon.
Well, like I said, I think they should both be 50%. But that's all the time we have for tonight. Let us know what y'all thought of this movie. And next week is the last movie of the year.
We got
And
one more movie night and one more podcast
for the year.
Done for the year.
And then we get to start a whole new movie, which will be a single, just so y'all know. It will be a single choice of my choice, and then we will be pulling out either another single or another series for Jason's choice. But that's all the time we have. Jason, you got anything else for him?
Oh, just hang around. We got Jeremy's actually figured out how to get the entire trailer on there. So now not only is it started off with nothing. We're just, hey, we're gonna watch this movie on Monday. Not only did we actually add a trailer and Jeremy just slapping a poster on there because we couldn't, we didn't know about copyright and stuff. But now Jeremy's able to get the entire video on there. He got the trailer on there. So Monday, the final movie of 2022 is going to be Friday the 13th, the remake. My personal favorite. I mean, I do like part 6, but as a remake, oh my god, I love everything about this movie. I love just the craziness of the actors. I love the Jason in this one, but we'll get to see all that. You get to see all that Monday. So bring your I don't know, bring your blindfolds if you don't want to see some boobies, because this next movie's got boobies. It's got boobies and death.
Well, all y'all, stay safe. Have a good night. We'll see y'all next week. Same time, same campfire. And without further ado, Friday the 13th, the remake.
Did you know a young boy drowned here? He wasn't a very good swimmer. The counselors weren't paying attention. He should have been watched every minute. You see, he was my son. His name was Jason. And today is his birthday.